Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you guys a bit of a different video today. We're going to be doing a discussion video here with a couple of my good friends, Skye and Clownspercapita. Say hi, guys.
Sup?
Hello.
So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We obviously have the whole mid-season patch up on the PBE right now. A lot of good stuff in there, and then the post as well from Riot, giving a little bit of context. And kind of wanted to start today talking about the big reworks with Maokai, Sejuani, and Zach. If you guys had any thoughts.
Whoa. Sorry. I feel like you're glazing over the most important part of 7.9, and that's the new Dark Star skins.
Yeah, they're gonna be pretty exciting. I'm interested to see how that's gonna go on. So
Yeah, all right. Let's talk about something that matters now.
yeah, so I can't speak to Maokai that much because I've played the champion literally twice. So but I know you play him a decent amount there, Ian. So
Yeah, I've played my fair share of Maokai, I would say.
yeah,
He's I don't know. I obviously can only say so much without numbers, but looking at it, I think it's safe to say that he's going to be a lot less tanky. Having nerfs to his passive and no longer really getting the 20% damage resistance.
well, it's not
Yeah,
exactly a nerf to his passive, is it? Because it's just on a cooldown whenever he gets hit, which reduces. So
Well, it used to reduce for all spell casts, and now it's only his own spell casts and spells that hit him.
yeah, but I mean before it was a number of spell casts, right? You literally couldn't trigger it unless a certain number of spell casts.
It was a specific number before, yeah. But considering that spellcast count counted allies and enemies, and none of them had to hit you, and now it's just yours and ones that hit you, you're going to be getting that up a lot less often. Whereas old Maokai in team fights, every auto was just heal, and now it's pretty gated, which
Yeah.
I think was necessary.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a good change to his passive, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't know about Maokai. He looks cool, but I mean his Q just slower overall. W a lot slower overall. Saplings doing extra damage if they're in brush. I mean that's pretty cool. And then his ult obviously being the biggest change.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the minuses to his general durability is part of what Riot wanted to go for him, because he's obviously going to be getting more resistances just through like itemization and stuff. And part of the reason he was so unkillable and so good as a tank is because he just got a lot of free stuff from his ultimate, like you're talking about, the 20% DR, from always having a heal on his autos in team fights. So I feel like this model is a little bit more sustainable, I guess. In that,
yeah, he's definitely a lot easier to kill than old Maokai, I would say.
Yeah. So
I think, sorry, from a game health perspective, I think it's definitely way better. I like that they switched his percent damage to his saplings, which is not targeted, from his Twisted Advance, which was targeted. So that just adds a lot less reliability to his damage, which I think was one of the overall goals they had with the character, was making him not just like, doing a ton of damage to squishies while also being unkillable. At least now you have to actually like do something to get the damage rather than just flash W.
True. He's not really the pick into anything tank, I guess, which was maybe their goal.
yeah, I mean, I do feel like that's kind of the direction they're going in, especially with like Amumu's recent rework, where he's more of like the magic damage amp character.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it's a good place to go for Maokai, I guess, is he almost feels like a follow-up initiator because of the way his ultimate works. Like, obviously Flash W is still really good, but he can't press R right off the bat and be guaranteed of hitting anybody because the root duration's super low at short range. It moves really slow to start with. It feels more like you start the wall, like, down the lane, and then the Malphite flanks and ults. And by the time the enemy team is done being CC'd, then the Nature's Grasp is there by that point. So
yeah, I was gonna say, ideal. You have like Kled Maokai and they press R in the same direction.
yeah, I actually had not thought of that. Yeah,
you run in and then fuck the trees.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Pretty scary.
Yeah, that could be good.
I think the biggest nerf to Maokai though is his voiceover change. Honestly, He sounds super old now.
Well, so I know
Great.
there's a processing bug where in game, I guess it picks different wood sounds every single time he says a line, which isn't in the video right now that I know Skin Spotlights did. So that's part of it, I think.
I just like listening to the voice. Change is bad, obviously.
You never played Kazakhs then.
This is true. I do not play a lot of Kazakhs.
Yeah.
You might disagree with me there.
Yeah. All right. So I did want to move on a little bit here. Talk about Sejuani a little bit, which I play a lot of. I do really like that champion, and I feel like in general she has a lot of good things and a lot of really weird things. Like obviously having a point and click stun can be really strong, but the stacking of it, I have a lot of questions about. Like, what is the range on that? If I'm in the river brush, will you like, if, and my Braum hits somebody, will they start stacking the passive, or do I have to be visible, or how does that work? And then the ultimate as well. If I throw and it misses, do I still get the slow zone if it goes the full distance? Or
yeah, it's definitely something I want to check out on PBE. A lot of questions to be answered and just generally how things work. Funny enough, my first thought was, oh, her W is just a big Rengar Q.
Yeah.
You swipe and then you stab down the middle, but hers is rather large.
Yeah, actually, that was literally my first thought too about Sejuani. I did see though, which we didn't know in advance of the post going live. Frost Armor apparently just straight up gives her immunity to slows for a good long while after she first takes champion damage. So
yeah, when I first saw that, I was like, oh, it's another similar like Malzahar passive, but obviously it's not as strong, but lasts a lot longer, which definitely seems cool. Like the preview video shows, it's obviously a very good example. The must be a lot of resist she gets, and then obviously the slow immune is never a bad thing.
Yeah,
her current passive is slow resist, right? Like
yeah,
15% or something.
Yeah.
Is that all? I don't actually know what her current one is. Is that all it is? Just slow resist?
She gets a small amount of slow resist and armor while she's in a fight.
Gotcha.
So it's only while she's actively in combat. No,
go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say I think the new passive does its goal of getting her into a spot where she's really tanky right when she starts a fight, so it incentivizes Sejuani to play aggressively right off the bat. It obviously depending on numbers tuning, it might be really good because it looked like she had like another like 50 to 60 armor and magic resistance just from the passive.
Definitely looked like a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that the whole, I guess they wanted her to be the cavalry champion, the war leader, I guess. So she charges in head first. She's going to be extra tanky, and then everyone's kind of applying her passive for her. I think that's like thematic wise. I do think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, well, I mean, my question really is, like they were trying to make her, the two things that stand out about Sejuani the most, her boar and her mace. They wanted to make those come out in her kit. Her mace, she's definitely using a mace more than she was with her old kit now. The boar, it's still kind of just her Q.
Yeah.
It doesn't really scream cavalry to me.
I mean, the mace even
a little more.
The amount of mace is even arguable because before, she was just spinning it in a circle like, look, I have an extra Sunfire cape. And now she's actually kind of slapping people. So I definitely think the bowl of fantasy, if you will, is cooler. But yeah, that riding a boar fantasy, she's still just, you cues in, she cues in, and then obviously the sound bugs. So whenever you look at her for the rest of the game, you have to hear the boar grunting.
It's just very boring.
Well, that's it for today. Like,
video over. Goodbye.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it is her new passive. I mean, if you want to look implacable, I mean, riding a boar, not much is going to stop that. Your puny little horses are not going to stop Kevin Tuggles from running you down. So I think her new passive does kind of play into that fantasy, but I'm not going to disagree. I do think that's a part that didn't quite get there. And along the same lines, actually, Zach, transition, look at that. His W was like the most boring part of his kit, and I thought for sure that was going to get changed or reworked, but that was like one of the only parts of his kit that didn't get changed. So
nope. Instead, he still has his stupid W, he just now becomes a ladle and scoops your team away.
How's this freaking Q work? I don't get it.
Basically,
Okay, so it's a skill shot, and if you land the skill shot, your next auto is an enhanced range auto, and when you land that auto, you then slam. The skill shot you land sticks to them; it stays to them. And then when you land the auto, it squishes the two together. You pull them towards each other and slam them into each other.
It's like a combination of like Kled's bear trap on a rope and Orissa's right click.
Okay, so I'm looking at the numbers right now, and it deals 130.
Oh, they up now? Nice.
Start. And then it says the next basic attack is replaced with a long range smack that repeats the initial magic damage, and so that's another 130.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if I'm reading this correctly, if he grabs two different things and he smushes them together, he gets another 130. Am I reading that right, or is that 390 base with 90% AP?
What you're saying is AP Zach's going to be OP.
That is essentially what I'm going for here.
I mean, Zach's always done a ton of damage. Like, for a tank, he does a lot of damage. Let's see.
Looks like they shifted a lot of the damage from his W to his Q. So I guess that's a good thing, because now instead of just an AoE, like press button, get damage ability, you got most of his damage on a skill shot with a condition, which is always better for game health, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his new ult too, I feel like that actually is a downgrade from Let's Bounce. Like, Let's Bounce felt like a really good disruption tool to have in a fight to, like, break apart death balls and that kind of thing. Or, like, you know, knock people back into your team. But I feel like the scoop isn't that great. I can't imagine a scenario where picking up champions and pulling them in a direction is a specific direction is good. Like, obviously, like, Shockwave is really good, or Gnar, because you're throwing someone into a wall and stunning them, or you're just pulling them all in together for, you know, more damage, or like an MF ultimate or something. But just I guess it's really good as like a peeling tool, like squishing down on top of your carries, and then when the Zed comes in, you release the button and you just scoop him away. But
I mean, I see it as like a pick tool. You know, like his rotation would be, you know, you slingshot in, you slow them with Q, and then immediately just become a blob. And it makes me think of like the mantra karma Q, where like suddenly there's this circle, and either you walk out of it, or you just immediately, you know, you're gonna have a bad time. Like you're slowed, so you either, especially if you don't have you know, mobility, obviously, he just flies in, lands on you, and just scoops you away to his team.
Yeah, now he does have to hold it down for a second, otherwise it'll just be the regular knockback as before.
Oh yeah. It's like he does have to charge it, but charging it for 1 second is not a super long time, especially when he has a slow, and obviously you can have follow-up from your team, so it's like it just seems like a really good catch tool. Like when I think paired with something like Ashe, you know, land an arrow, Zach can be there from a million units away, and then he'll bring the arrowed target to his team if need be.
Yeah, okay, well, I guess it's fair.
I'm wondering if they're like suppressed while they're inside of him. Will they be able to dash out? Doesn't say anything about that. I
think that'd be a very weird interaction if they weren't. If he's flying through the air and suddenly Lucian just like ease out and falls to the ground, like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I want to say you're
imagine
suppressed.
There's some form of CC.
Scoops up enemies on top of him, carrying them towards the target location while flying through the air. Zach is unstoppable. No, it doesn't say that.
I'm guessing you're stunned. But I'm guessing you're stunned at the very minimum, because otherwise, like you're saying, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's one of those implied things.
Yeah. All right. So I did want to move on and talk about itemization a little bit, and because we had a lot of items change in this patch going forward, and wanted to kind of get your thoughts specifically on Abyssal Scepter and Banshee's Veil, and kind of how those two are flip-flopping recipes and passives.
That confuses me. I'm like still not sure what's going on there.
I mean, I think
trying to find it on the PB page.
Okay. I mean, I think on paper I like the Abyssal Scepter swap, because the passive always felt more like a tank passive to me. Because most mages, like, unless your name was Diana or Echo, I guess, you didn't really care about the passive. You built it just because you wanted more magic resistance in lane. You didn't like the passive literally did not come into play ever. Like if I'm Xerath and I built an Abyssal Scepter, the only time I'm getting value out of the passive is when I've messed up, right?
Yeah.
So I do feel like it being a tank is a solid place for it to be, and I think the build path is fairly decent. I don't know why it's giving magic resist reduction, but whatever. The change that concerns me is the Banshee's Veil. That giving ability power now feels weird. I don't know if I'd ever get used to that.
What are the final numbers on that right now? Because last time I saw it, it was 60 AP, 60 MR, and the spell shield.
Yeah, something like that. Now the spell shield does have the 40-second cooldown on it, so it doesn't scale down, which I think is a mistake, honestly.
I too think the same thing. 40 seconds at late game is just a bit much. God save us all when it came out and it was 8 seconds at level 18. That was a little bit ridiculous. But like, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking like, maybe 22 seconds, -1 second per level.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds okay to me. I mean, I obviously with the having just come out of the Edge of Night meta, low cooldown spell shields will put up a red flag. But this is obviously something you can't just pop out of combat, pop the active, and go back in. You need to not take damage, which is significantly harder. But I definitely agree that scaling down would be nice. Just obviously number wise would be just something to be very careful with. Yeah. Be very careful with it.
I mean, I think
couple things.
And no, I didn't play this. Sorry, I just want to interject real quick. I didn't play with it, but I do feel like scaling down to 8 seconds isn't terrible, specifically because it does its intended job of making you more or less immune to picks. That was Banshee's Veil that was Banshee's Veil thing, was making you resistant to assassination and basically immune to picks, because Blitzcrank Hook, Thresh Hook, like none of these are going to do anything to you while you have the Banshee's Veil. So, but in a team fight, you're never going to get that back. 8 seconds is forever in a team fight. I can't say, oh, my Veil pop, guys, I'm going to back off real quick and wait for it to come back. You can't do that. So I don't see a problem with that. I think you could tune it more aggressively than 22 seconds, even like you guys were saying. I think you could even get it down to like 15 to 10 seconds maybe, but obviously that's maybe a discussion to have another day.
Yeah. I mean, what I like about this item is I just look at this item and I think to myself, that's the AP Zonias. I mean, Zonias is already an AP item, but I mean, verse AP. It's the verse AP Zonias. It has the exact same stats, if I'm not mistaken. 70, 45, 10% CDR. Yeah. And then you've just got a defensive passive. So I think that's really good to have in the game. I also like the fact that it has been tuned towards an AP Zonias type item where you're not going to have every character in the game building the spell shield item and then having sieges be like a nightmare for both teams.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So, and then a little bit about Guardian Angel as well. What are we thinking on that having AD now, but like not being gold efficient without the passive?
The legendary AD and armor item that has not existed.
The last one we had was, I believe, Atma's Impaler. And science has shown that when you have an item with AD and armor on it, it needs to be
unusable?
Either unusable or the most broken item in the game.
I think that item is very strong. I will say that first. I think that item is very strong.
Regardless of the strength of the item, I think it's definitely a good thing that that it's being pushed away from like a tank's third item.
Agreed.
I think that was a little bit ridiculous.
I think having it on tanks just made it just too frustrating to play against, because even though the percent health you get back wasn't a ton on a tank, it's a lot. Most of the time it's like, oh no, like Ash's GA popped, just kill her when she comes back up. It's like, okay, Maokai's GA popped. That's still going to be a big deal when he comes back to life. And it's like, I think it definitely feels better being a more carry centric item as opposed to a tank item.
Yeah, I gotcha. My biggest concern with it is that we basically don't have any mixed resistance item anymore, apart from Gargoyle Stoneplate, which I don't feel like is an item that every character can build.
Yeah, I don't think damage dealers are primarily going to build that. There's like a very specific like case with Cho'Gath where you can kind of build it. and get ridiculous damage on your R. But that's,
Well,
I mean, I don't even know if that's good.
I mean, more of what I'm getting at is it's going to be great on tanks, like the people it's intended for sure. You know, Cho'Gath and Sichuan Izak, it's all going to be a good item on them. The biggest thing for me, though, is that if you're playing a fighter, you know, like a diver type champion or something like that, you usually want a mix, like a mix resistance items feels good. Like I build Gia and Kled, not necessarily just because the passive, but because I like having one item that gives me armor and MR, and that kind of frees me up to then build like more damage or more bruisery items. Zerat Portal, you're right.
Say.
Yeah.
So
I think that's way healthier to have, even though the little, I've heard them called cancer puppies, the little voidlings, not super fun to deal with, but obviously not as. I'd rather be facing down a Zerat Portal than a tank with GA.
Yeah.
Any day.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I don't know.
Hey, just block it as well, double resists, you know.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So I hadn't thought about it a little bit, but I do feel like it just, we need something a little bit better for fighters. I feel like most of the items you're kind of talking about are more tank items. I wouldn't predict building any of that kind of stuff on, like I said, somebody like Kled or somebody like Vi even. You know.
I gotcha.
So
it definitely felt really good to have the GA. Passive aside, the double resists were definitely nice, but I don't know. I think Stoneplate is obviously not, you know, just a straight up replacement, but not a bad option, especially if you're going to be fighting, going to be team fighting.
Ooh. I mean, with divers though, it's like it's not like you're a tank where you go and you blow your load and then you just gargle a Stoneplate and exist.
Oh yeah, well, I don't think like Kha'Zix is going to build it. You don't really want to.
Because there's still 60%.
Damage.
You lose 60% of your damage when you activate that item.
I know. Like they're obviously could come out with a much better, a good fighter item and sort of replace of GA. But I'm just talking about in realistic terms for now, with Portal and Locket and now Gargoyle.
Yeah.
Being the only options, it's. It could be better.
Well, you know, and I did actually forget about this. Steric's Gauge is actually getting buffed on PBE. So it's like it gives like 30% bonus AD when it procs like a bigger shield. There's a lot of goodies in Steric's Gauge, so I guess like that would become more of the fighter item, which I know Riot are trying to shift fighters more towards health and resistances anyways. So sort of like an item of you go in and you absorb damage until the Steric's shield pops, and then you try to kill everybody or die, I guess. So I guess that would be more the option to go for nowadays, other than the Guardian Angel.
Yeah. Derek's actually looked super good. They didn't decrease or increase the cost at all, right? It's still like 26.
I believe so. I don't think.
I like that item a lot now on fighters.
Yeah. So.
Hey, at least it doesn't still stack with Maw.
Yeah.
Good times.
Good times indeed. And then one more last thing, talking about the Rift Herald, and do we think, is that objective worth anything anymore?
I haven't read it. You guys talk about it. I'm gonna look at that real quick.
Well, it we'll have to see. They said they were changing its combat pattern a lot, so we'll see how that goes. They said it can be soloable, and you can get around and poke her in the eyeball. First thing, obviously, aesthetics, definitely a lot better. It actually looks like a Void Corrupted Rift Scuttler, which is cool.
Yeah, originally they came out with it, and I have a feeling they weren't even going for like a corrupted scuttle at all. And then people were just like, "Is it a corrupted scuttle?" And Riot was just like, yes,
yes, it is. We are very smart. Like, it reminds me. It strikes me as like a Dota objective. Right, it gives you the item in your inventory, gives you enhanced recall, and you can activate it to summon Rift Herald to your lane, and it will push towers. Strictly only towers. Doesn't hit champs. It just obliterates towers. It hates towers. And it's not immune to crowd control. It does damage. The higher its health is, the more damage it does. So as it gets chunked out, it's not going to be hurting your towers as much. And I think that's definitely interesting, especially with first Tower Blood still being quite a large chunk of gold. Now you can either go for the tried and true strategy of 4 million people in the bottom lane and push down the tower. Or maybe you can make a Herald play and get first blood top. I don't know. It could change things around.
Now, I believe Rift Herald spawns at like 10 minutes or so into the game, so maybe not like a first tower blood, but I could see Herald being a good objective on a split pushing champion like Fiora, for example. You kill that, you let Fiora recall, get items, go back top lane, summon Herald, and basically guarantee that your opponents have to respond to the push. Obviously, assuming numbers are correct, but force your opponents to respond to the push and deal with it, or you'll give up multiple towers for free. And I think it's an interesting trade-off from the Drakes, in that Drakes will basically give your team more stats, but it may or may not be worth it, whereas Herald is a huge objective for sieging.
Oh yeah, like God forbid that their Tryndamere gets like 2 kills ahead on the enemy guy and then gets Rift Herald. Like, you will lose your base if you don't respect that. Your entire base. Like, holy...
I think timing is definitely going to be a huge factor with the Rift Herald, because they said the item doesn't last very long. And then you can also time summoning it around another objective. Like, your team goes to take Drake, you drop this top lane, teleport to the fight. Look, you still got a tower. Like, you still got a pusher in the top lane. It's just not a champion.
That's true. I wasn't even thinking about split push, but it's like you just basically get Yorick ulti for every champion.
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine Yorick with this? He just presses R, presses his item. He's like, "All right, my children, be free. I'm going to teleport to Dragon now."
Yeah, put Rift Herald top lane, your ultimate bot lane, and then go mid and push 3 lanes at once as one champion.
Banner mid.
There we go. We go.
You get banner for the 4th lane. Like, there's a 4th lane invented just for you.
That's the 6th.
No, you're in the jungle. You're in the jungle.
He gets jungle camps for you.
No, you're farming the jungle while your minions do all your work for you in every lane. There you go.
Oh, that's
we got our Yorick strats on lock. But real talk,
like the bank playing.
Yeah. But real talk, I do feel like it's. I think we're in agreement there that it is a better objective now than it was before.
Definitely.
Something I can be proud of throwing at.
Yeah, through the because obviously the old buff, being only beneficial to one person, is like, oh, it makes our split pushing stronger. That's good, but that's not every strategy. And this is this can just straight up get gold for your team easier. Like, you get it. I think it's definitely better than just making your split pusher stronger, because it's like, oh, in the long run, maybe that extra strength could get the split pusher to get towers, but this is just straight up a monster smashing your towers.
Yeah.
It can definitely grant your team some gold if it's not tended to.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're actually out of game footage here, so we're going to go ahead and call it here. A lot of good things coming out of this, though, I feel. General thoughts, last thing, general thoughts on midseason patch, yay or nay so far?
I think it's good so far. I would give it a plus. I'd say yay so far.
Okay, and Clownspercapita?
Gangplank Sejuani is going to be busted.
Gangplank Sejuani is going to be busted. I like it. All right, that's going to be it from us today, guys. Thank you so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you like the video, go ahead and leave a like. If you really like the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching, and I will talk to you all later.